So in 1965, albums were starting to make a little bit of an inroad at this time, because before that it was pretty well all singles. But a few albums before that were starting, but it was 65 was we're getting there. We're starting to get a few albums. A lot of what we heard was, of course, on the radio. And I remember listening to the radio late at night, trying to get in stations that were all around. I was in Kingston, Ontario, so we would get sometimes New York and all these other stations all around and try to get them in, and you'd have your radio and you'd be trying to pick up the signal wherever it may be, and then you'd have to hold it, hear a song, and it's pretty crazy, but it was the only way to really hear music all the time. And the Beatles were still dominating at this point of time, of course, 1965. And they came out with at least 3 albums here, and these are all North American issues. And Help, which was a really dumb movie, but it didn't matter because it had the Beatles in it. And the songs on this album, they're all great, but on this release, they mixed it with incidental music from the movie. It was just horrid. So you had to skip over to get the tracks of the Beatles. And this has some of their great song, Help, one of my favorite of all times by the Beatles. The Night Before, You've Got to Hide Your Love Away. They're sitting back and John Lennon's strumming his acoustic guitar. And great songs from that movie. But as an album, I know in England they got a real edition of this, but this is what we had, and this is what I listened to. So it was there where we had to get help. We had to get some help. Now we had Beatles 6 came out that year, and it had some good songs on it too. 8 Days a Week's on here. I Don't Want to Spoil the Party. I covered that song myself, and Every Little Thing, and generally speaking, it's a good album. But my favorite Beatle album is the North American version of Rubber Soul. I mean, this starts off with I've Just Seen a Face. Great introduction song, and it just draws you into the album. This album works better as a whole. It's got that more of acousticy and kind of laid back feel to it than the English version I have on CD, but I never listened to it. I always listen to this, Rubber Soul. So that's my favorite Beatle album. And then other forms of music were starting to take hold in 65, and Mr. Tambourine Man came along, and I was all in for the Byrds. I mean, I totally wore out this copy, and they came out with 2 albums that year. This featured Mr. Tambourine Man, All He Really Want to Do, and some Dylan covers, but still good, and some sort of a traditional stuff thrown in. And then right after that, hot on the heels, same year came Turn, Turn, Turn. I love that cover. I just, man, I wish I could grow my hair like that. But great album too. Satisfied Mind, If You're Gone. It Won't Be Wrong. I mean, there's some great songs in here. I love this album. There's a couple of songs that are okay, but overall, I wore this one out too. Then, of course, along came Bob Dylan into my life. I knew Bob Dylan was around, knew a lot of his songs and stuff, but this was the actual first album that I had, and this is total classic album. Totally. I mean, it's got Like a Rolling Stone. A friend of mine said back at this time, I remember, he said, if you want to piss off your parents, just play Like a Rolling Stone. It's over 5 minutes, and it'll really piss them off. And it did. It was one of my favorites, though. And it's got a Ballad of a Thin Man. What a great ballad. I mean, it's so heavy and so paranoid. It just gets you to that point anyways. So I was all in for Bob. And then I later on would get this album. It has Subterranean Homesick Blues on it. Still play that song. And It's All Over Now, Baby Blue, and It's All Right Ma. Still, this was just before, actually, Highway 61, but it was hinting at that electric side was coming through. Now the Stones, we had the December's Children. This is a North American release. It was just kind of a hodgepodge of stuff. Get Off My Clouds on here. I cover that. I cover a lot of songs on these. And As Tears Go By, Gotta Get Away. And She Said Yeah, just a real sort of a driving rock song. And I'm Moving On. And I looked at that and I said, Hank Snow. I know who Hank Snow is. Rolling Stones were covering a Hank Snow song back in '65. And it's live. So you get all the screaming and stuff. But it was still the Rolling Stones doing Hank Williams. It was great. So onward, we went into the Loving Spoonful. Loving Spoonful. Very eclectic band. They did a lot of traditional songs, and they wrote some great songs. Do You Believe in Magic, of course, is on this album. And their first 3 albums I have, and I just love their quirkiness. There's something about their sound and the different aspects of their music that I just love. And Zal Yavansky was on here, and he settled in Kingston, Ontario later on, after, had a restaurant there. I went in there on holidays years ago when he was still alive, and he was at the bar, and it was kind of neat. But anyways, and last but not least, we have the Butterfield Blues Band. Now, I was into blues a little bit at '65. It hadn't taken hold yet because you just couldn't hear stuff, didn't have a lot of money to buy records, so you had to sort of hear by word of mouth. But it didn't take long to find this with Mike Bloomfield, who is my favorite guitar player of all time, and he's just cooking on this album. And he was on Like a Rolling Stone. He was on Highway 61 Revisited. Whew! So that's 1965. Things were just starting to take hold. I was 14, so I was wide open for anything that was coming my way on music. So long.